Yes, welcome to the show, Exiled Minds podcast, with your host, the famous Liam Martin. It's 21st February today, 2023, and for me, it's GMT. It's 18 minutes past 10. A bit late today, my PC just kept crashing when I was trying to start the stream, but I think I've figured that out. So, there we go. But to fix it in future, sometimes it's nice to know why things go wrong, so you know how to overcome them sort of later on there. I think that's a lesson for us all there. It's probably in a Jordan Peterson thing as well, but thing about discipline and focus and whatnot. But anyway, we're here, made it. So, episode today on the Exiled Minds podcast. Today we've got, it wasn't supposed to fall this way, but it's kind of slight follow on from yesterday's. Did a bonus show yesterday, so I just stuck that in a bonus shows thing. When I fancy doing an impromptu one, I'll just stick it in the bonus shows thing. Anyway, but I did one yesterday that was on a sort of My Labs military abductions, sort of associated with UFO kind of thing. And it just so happens that I had this other show lined up about a C.A.R.E.T program today. It's called the C.A.R.E.T program. It's also known about as the Dragonfly drones. So this is about some UFOs that basically we're gonna investigate a strange story about these images that appeared on the internet that were of a UFO that looked kind of unusually shaped. And then it led to where there was a radio listener for a popular paranormal radio show in America, coast to coast. And this guy called Isaac contacts the station, the story goes. And he contacts some information, having heard the discussions and the appearance of these, oddly shaped UFOs, being captured on camera in the sort of California area. So he presented some pretty wild information, and he sent him some documents as well. It was after a spate of sightings in the skies of California. So there was a unique sort of shape. Some people said they looked a bit dragonfly shaped. They got known as sort of dragonfly UFO or dragonfly drones because the shape kind of made it look as if, it's hard to figure out how you dwell in it, and it's weird. So this guy contacts Coast to Coast with some insights into how the military works with the commercial sector in a very similar way described by Colonel Philip Corso in his book The Day After Roswell, where he claims in this book that they get these crash retrieval teams and they go in and they get the stuff, and then engineers will try and figure out how they work. Called it reverse engineering. Okay, reverse engineering alien technology. And supposedly some of these crashes in the back end of the 40s after the Second World War, famously like the Roswell 1947. It's said that some of the technologies we get today, like Velcro and lasers and diodes and transistors, might have come from that. But I think like some of these things were there before that. Anyway, lasers were there before. But anyway. Episode 20, C.A.R.E.T drones then. Unique shaped UFOs. I remember seeing these images and straight away, years ago this was, it was in around 2012. I remember discussing it with someone because someone had called in and said they'd seen him and added some extra layer to this story. I think that was like several years later. So I think, 2012. So I remember talking about it with someone I used to know back in the day in this town, and it was, my first impression was, they look ridiculously fake, right? And the reason I thought that is because there was like my eyes were so confused about how they would look, how it would work. One of them, I thought it looked a bit like an egg whisk. They'd like snipped the top of it, so it kind of, and then done some weird shape with it, and just stuck some just like your kitchen utensils stuck together in a interesting way, like if a kid tried to make a spaceship with just stuff in the house, but it's all silver. It kind of looks a bit metal, so I thought it kind of looked like that. Or you try and, but then I thought it's like a Terence McKenna quote as well. And no, if something's truly alien, you won't be able to see it, or like you'll really have a hard time relating it to something that you've seen because it's alien, right? And by definition, it's not going to be known. It's not going to be familiar, so it's going to be really hard to describe. And we tend to compare things to describe them in our language and stuff. So, and our language and the way we're thinking of the world is a lot of it's memories that we're just viewing. If you think about it. So anyway, so you've got to do things by association. So yeah, I thought they were stranger, but look really fake. But then I thought if the alien, they're going to look a bit wild, aren't they? They're going to look a bit odd. So I thought, okay, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's have a look into it and see if there's anything to it. So first, I guess then, after just prefacing you with this, I suppose then we'll start with having a look at the letter, and have a look at these, and then we'll move on to have a look at some of these images captured by a guy called Chad. But yeah, we'll look at this letter sent from a guy calling himself Isaac. I'll do a share screen. So this is recorded on bibliotecapleiades.net at the top, links in the description. Yeah, the C.A.R.E.T program. Explanation for drone UFO sightings in California. Okay, so this was a sort of announcement from Exopolitics. Exopolitics, it became a term, I don't know when it came, Exopolitics sort of became a term leading up to 2012, where we started to, after the 2008, there was a big economic crash, massive heist of money and redistribution of wealth, I call it. That happened, and then we started to need terms of a way to talk about politics, the underbelly of politics, the bits on the edges, the important bits that has always been ignored, like UFOs, and like if they're not using petrol, to fly them spaceships, what are they using? Because we could do with one, sort of thing. If they're not using gasoline and diesel, which obviously not, if they're coming from other stars, right? They're not using petrol, are they? So what they got? Because we need one of them. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the problem why you can't talk about UFOs and aliens and stuff, even if whatever it is, because they've got craft that's energy systems. It'd free us, wouldn't it? It'd free us if we had some really good energy like that. So we're stuck, aren't we? We can't tell you, but it's there. But we can't tell you because money. But anyway, exopolitics is like a term for the fringes and these websites and people. And Stephen Bassett, paradigm shift. Was it research paradigm? Stephen Bassett, I think he come up with this term as a way for us to talk about, government corruption tied in with, taking taxpayers' money and doing secret operations and, whatever, all the corruption stuff and the stuff to do with the things that they're hiding, especially technologies like energy systems and many other stuff that we could be benefiting from that we need. Like there's ways to, just commercial technologies these days to negate earthquakes with, I think it's sound and diffraction. And they've been used, and you can get them. And with this recent earthquake in Turkey, I think it's time to try and promote that sort of stuff. Look into it, make a point of saying, no, let's use some of this. Now let's use some of these technology. We're in the future, man. We've got good science then, so let's use it for stuff like that and try and save the first city of an earthquake. Because I think these days, with all the studies, that you start studying the frequencies of earthquakes, that that you can get is like markers that lead to sort of indicate is one going to come, like predicting the weather. So if we've got a way to stop it, then we can see it ahead of time, like weather fronts for earthquakes. So we should be using that sound diffraction, you know, and it's just a phenomenon with sound where like you're trying to listen through the wall and you can't, it's a bit muffled, but then if you open a window and they've got the window open, you can just hear it in your room because it just kind of travels up the wall and round the wall to next door. The sound just kind of sticks to the wall. But anyway, yes. So yeah, maybe we should be looking at that. We need these technologies, but so that's why I thought it's worth having a look because this is, you know, could be about back engineering technologies and. But anyway, exopolitics. So this is where they're sort of talking about it and presenting this. So it says, this is basically for this website, a letter from this guy called Michael Salas talking about this this whistleblower guy, and you know, in presenting that there's this story from coast to coast, whatever. Let's just see what the exopolitics and the UFO community circuit had to say. So this is Michael Salo, PhD. He says, aloha, Hawaii. Aloha. Here is a significant breaking story. A whistleblower has stepped forward to give information on a spate of drone sightings in California that appear to be UFOs. The whistleblower gives a detailed personal account of his work on reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology in a highly classified commercial military joint venture. 2 full stops, look. See that? It's not good enough. It's in white, but still. Anyway. I saw it. Hidden. It's like, it could be this Captain's secret message in the full stop in a Rimmer's swimming certificate. A red dwarf joke there. Oh, yeah. Anywho, Matt Sow. Oh, what's up, Matt? It's Matt in the chat. Dragonfly. Yeah, LEXX. Exactly, that's why I put it in the thing. The LEXX thing. How you doing, bro? Yeah, I kept crashing today and PC kept crashing, so I had to start show late and didn't tell anyone. Didn't have time. Yo, look, let's get LEXX up. Now you've mentioned it. LEXX, TV show, Dragonfly. Because in LEXX, there's craft that is basically, it's like it's a living entity. Okay. It sounds a bit crazy, but that's sort of what it is. It's a sort of living entity, like what you call a leviathan, where you kind of grow a ship. It's like in the Bible, they talk about, you know, some men get inside of a whale, not just to get swallowed. I think it's Greek mythology. It's like a big kind of fish thing that men could get in. It's like a troop transport. You could say it's a submarine or whatever. But yeah, the idea that LEXX could be a spaceship submarine where you get a creature that you kind of grow, it's kind of insect-like, you know, and it's got a bit of a hive mind scenario in the sense that it connects with you. And it's very logical and analytical, and psychically it will connect with you. So if you're frustrated and just want to blow a planet up, it won't fire its main weapon. It'll be like, nah, bro, you need to chill. Think about this. If you can justify blowing this planet up, I'll blow it up for you. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's the Dragonfly drones. Anyway, that's what the reference was. Let's share that back on there. Right then. Ooh. Yeah, so so this letter from Michael Size saying, this guy's come forward talking about the joint ventures between military and commercial. That's the military-industrial complex. Obviously, what Eisenhower and Kennedy was sort of warning about. You know, we don't want military and of countries working with industry and then sort of taking over, and then they're leading the wheel, aren't they? You don't want leaders in industry, whether it's, you know, Silicon Valley technologies or whether it's pharmaceuticals or whether it's whatever technological sector. You don't want them in the military just taking over the world and just making all the decisions, because then you're just bypassing government, bypassing us. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, and government aren't even being held to account as it is, let alone, you know, business and military just doing whatever behind our backs. I mean, you know. But anyway, this is what this whole thing's about, because this guy says he took part in making these things, and these are drones, and they're not UFOs, and these are the ones that we've made based off of the back of reverse engineering UFOs. That's the deal. So here's this letter that was sent from this guy calling himself Isaac, sent to Coast to Coast AM radio show. So, greetings, Coast to Coast AM. I have information that I can explain a great deal of what is going on with the photos provided by Chad and Rajma. The late, I don't know how to say that to you. The Lake Tahoe witness. Oh, okay. So Chad and Rajma is a Lake Tahoe witness, as well as ones taken by Jenna and TY in Big Basin. I'm going to go by the alias Isaac while I release this information. I'm an electrical engineer and a computer scientist and used to work in a program called C.A.R.E.T. that was concerned with the research and development based on extraterrestrial technology. Many key elements of the technology I worked on during my time with C.A.R.E.T are clearly visible in these crafts. This work was done in the 80s at Palo Alto, so it's no surprise to me that these sightings are taking place within such a proximity to that area. Attached to this email, you will find numerous scans of photographs and documents from C.A.R.E.T days that pertain to what I'm going to tell you. So it's going to provide the files to sort of back up what he's saying. And in addition, I will put up a small website with high-resolution copies of all these scans, and as well as a lengthy letter that explains a lot about me. The C.A.R.E.T program and these sightings have been... So he set up a website so that you could see high-definition pictures of the files and the images that he provided, so you could have a proper look. I did check the website out. It's not going anymore. It's a defunct website, but it was just isaaccarrot.fortunecity.com. I'd say links will be in the description, but yeah, I checked it out. It's not going anymore. But so it did put a website up. He said he's been listening to the show, as in Coast to Coast, since 2002, and would like to work with you to get this information out there. Please read the text of the website for the rest of the details. And I'm taking fairly significant personal risk and would like to make sure it's worth it. So that's why it's set up this, and I think that's why it got a big story, because it kind of makes it look legit. And if this stuff does get back engineered, somebody out there has worked on it, and so maybe they want to get some of this out. I'd want to get some of this stuff out, and you better want to keep it secure. So that kind of makes it seem legit, seems realistic, right? But that's how you can sell things, and make it, add things in that seem realistic. It says, all I ask is that sharing this information, that it's kept together when you share it. Just, I suppose that's so you don't edit it. So it's like, don't take it out of context. That's fair enough. Don't edit me and leave me on the cutting room floor. Take me out of context. Okay. All I ask in sharing this information is that it's kept together. There are 4 photos and a total of 15 pages of scanned documents. If you'd like to resize them for your website, that is fine. I want people to have easy access to this information in full. Let's put that in capitals. I feel this is reasonable, and it is all I ask. I am not trying to sell anything. That's in capitals, not trying to sell anything. Emphasized. And the only reason I created this very simple website is to ensure all the information is presented correctly and in one piece. Isaac. So that's the letter, and to me that seems a reasonable way to approach this if you was going to try and release something that you've worked on. And personally, I believe that absolutely, if you find this stuff, you're going to work on it. And I think we have found stuff, either ancient stuff or retrieved stuff from crashed craft that aren't necessarily from other planets. I'm not making that assumption myself, but in this context of UFOs and ETs and whatnot, then yeah, if some of this stuff comes down, you're going to work on it, aren't you? Trying to do stuff with it. So yeah, that seems reasonable the way it's presented to the sort of mindset. But anyway, let's have another look at these documents then. So say it's the original sort of image. That's the one that I've seen here for those who's on the video. This one on the right here is what I've seen the picture of, and I thought it looks like an egg whisk. Look, you somehow attached it to a thing and then cut the handle off a bit, or just blocked it out. what I'm saying? I thought it looked a bit, because I thought, how do you, what is that? It's not aerodynamic, is it? Obviously. It's not, what was that? It's kind of asymmetrical too. But then I'm looking at it now, it looks a bit more symmetrical actually. Because of that bit at the back. But yeah, I don't know. But then there's a picture to the left of this strange looking craft in the sky. Yeah, this picture to the left is supposed to be some parts where, he's been working on stuff. So yeah, I thought it was just fake straight away when I seen that picture. But like I say, then I thought, well, if it's alien, it's going to look strange. But anyhow, documents. Let's have a look at these documents. So this is the first one, right? Like the front page. It's got like the contents page, and it says C.A.R.E.T, as in like when you get those phonetic poem things, where it just says C.A.R.E.T going vertical, and then it tells you the acronym. It's like an acronym. So I'm going to explain it more. So C.A.R.E.T, C.A.R.E.T is Commercial Applications Research for Extraterrestrial Technology. Okay, it's not a bad little acronym actually. Not a bad little is that the word, acronym? Abbreviation. Yeah, that's great. They do them, don't they? Yeah, it's nice to have a good one that says the thing as well when it's like a whole word. It explains it. Like C.A.R.E.T works, doesn't it? WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. It's a bit of an awkward one. Or in the Marvel films, Iron Man, is that binaural augmentation, retro framing, but the abbreviation would be BARF. It's just not great. Anyway, egg whisk. Yeah, you see the egg whisk, man. Come on. That's what I thought. That was my first impression. Look at that. If you just, if you just block the handle off, you can see it, can't you? But on the other hand, they could be like, charging. But on the other hand, see how no science look. If you charge those, if they were spiked at the top and they do look tapered, if you charge those up with electricity, the electrons can't turn corners. So if they've got a pointed top, they'll gather on the top, on the spikes. Right? That's how you get an ion wind. When they're gathering, then they can't turn. Right? So the charges will build up on all these spikes and it'll create a ring of them. And see how it's tapered inwards on the picture, in the top look. So technically, see, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Yeah, it might be fake, be an egg whisk, but if it was going to work technically, as the charges go up to the top of this whisk-looking shape, it'll create a smaller ring of charged particles in little packets, which would then create a shaft going right down the middle of that ring, which might be a way to focus an ion wind to go straight down. So it's like sitting around a vortex. So perhaps they're getting an ion wind vortex right in the center of that thing. Oh, well, if they're real, then I think I just figured out how they work. But if you can't land them, though, because then they'd earth them and then they won't be able to take off. But anyway. Yeah, weird. But notice this. Front page look, right? I thought this is a coincidence, but check this little logo at the bottom. Right on the first page, C.A.R.E.T. And then I'm thinking, C.A.R.E.T, like, is this a carrot? Like, you lure somebody with a carrot, don't you? Right? So look at this little logo at the bottom. Notice the shape of that, like a circle with like a delta and some writing along the bottom, like a little line. Well, that's like a little pyramid, right? Little pyramid shape, little triangle shape. A triangle in a circle pointing up. And I thought, I've seen that before. I've seen that to do with UFOs. And I thought, yeah, I know I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. The Bobby Zamora. Lonnie Zamora. Lonnie Zamora. I thought it was Bobby, but it's Lonnie. Lonnie Zamora UFO case where it's got like an egg-shaped craft with the circle, the arc at the top and the arrow pointing up. Always remember that. It was one of the first UFO story I remember. I was reading it in a UFO book when I was a kid. And I always remember that, the arrowy bit pointing up and then the arc over it. That's what the one I saw in the book that I've seen. It would have been in the 80s. You know what I mean? It's quite strikingly similar to that kind of motif of a circle and the pointy uppy bit. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? So is that a bit of a, like, a trick. It kind of feels a bit. Here's a carrot, and it's a bit alien association with an imprint of an image you've already seen a little bit, man. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So you got that front page. Like it's got things blocked out. It says let's assume this is legit then for a minute. So it says yeah, okay, C.A.R.E.T, commercial applications research for extraterrestrial technology, Q4 86 research report. And it says December 1986, Palo Alto. Well, so that indicates to me that's in corporate font and format. That's Q4. That's like towards the end of the year, 1986. Well, December is the end of the year, so that would be the final quarter. October, November, and December, right? Like when you release microchips are coming out like 4 times a year. Do you know what I'm saying? And it will even say on the statistics like Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4 next to the year to let you know if it was, it might have been released in, 2022, but was it the first quarter or the last quarter? Because it's going to be better, isn't it? The newer it is. But I thought, so that looks legit in the correct font and format in the way that that's presented. So that's correct. But what else have we got? Let's have a look at one of these other ones then. So look at this image. For those that's viewing, here's a high definition image. Okay. And that looks okay. That looks like a thing. That looks like a thing to me, like a machine or you know what I'm saying? That looks like something that's been made and manufactured and something. You know what I'm talking about? Is it made of thing? It's got a spike like a turbine or a. It does something. Right. It looks like something that's been made. For whatever, or a model or whatever. So, but obviously there's a low definition one there, look, with bad printer sort of thing next to it for those in the video. So there's a high definition image, and then one that it's all like the contrast is like all making it really dark. That's what you used to get, and you can see the comparison, like the high definition ones, and that's it looks that's the legit stuff, right? So let's click on one of these documents. And, you can see the documents. You can read them yourself, look. Yeah, just, part of this report. So, component mode. Rather than generating a general purpose field of constant gravity control, A1 will manipulate the gravitational effect on specific objects, allowing them to take any position or orientation relevant to its own centroid. Component mode appears to be used commonly for maintaining physical construction of craft's design. Maintaining physical construction, okay. Rather than attaching the craft's components to one another by way of rivets. Hang on a minute. So it's not... Wait, let me read that again. Hang on a minute. That makes it sound like they just hold themselves together. And they're not riveted together. They're using the actual gravitational... If they can make things do anti-gravity, the parts themselves are doing anti-gravity to hold themselves together rather than using rivets. Maybe that's what they're showing us in Marvel, where Tony Stark makes a suit that can go into pieces and then form around him. And I thought, well, okay, they all got like mini repulsors on them. But what is that repulsor technology stuff? They don't really explain it, did they? Just a thought, just occurred to me there. So let's read this then. Read this again. So part of this report says, rather than generating a general purpose field, like a field all around you of constant gravity control, the A1 will manipulate the gravitational effect on specific objects, like individual parts, allowing them to take any position. You can reorientate your configuration or orientation relative to its own centroid. Component mode appears to be used commonly for maintaining the physical construction of the craft's design, rather than attaching the craft's components to one another by way of rivet, adhesive, welding, or the like. They are simply held in place quite precisely by anti-gravitational means. Yeah, I was right. Unlike field mode, PACL mode, or PACL mode, has not yet been successful in controlling the parameters of data that drive this mode. S1 does not appear capable of controlling this mode, activating or deactivating it. Once in effect, details of which components are affected and how it seems to be provided by the components themselves. See the following section for more information. Components made is reasonable from the RSR effect described in the previous section. I didn't look at the RSR effect. But yeah, it sounds like they're programmed to sort of, I don't know, to hold themselves together. So which one I think I just clicked on there. So let's go for this first textual one then. Okay, so the overview. In fact, I need a quick break actually, and I'm about to do for one anyway. But yeah, I just thought this was it kind of looks totally fake in some ways, but then kind of looks real in others. But then if I was going to present something to look real, I'd know what to do and what to add. Like I would redact things. I would use the correct format, like putting the ear in the queue. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not military. I don't know if that's how they do it, but I'd do it how I know to do it from a corporate standpoint. As a citizen, you know what I mean? If she was going to try and fake it. So, I don't know. So, we got anyone in the chat? Oh, there's another comment. Okay. Matsal, thanks for joining, man. Matsal says, in Eldar, Fatok runes, this is the blessing of fire. What's that? Fatok runes. Oh, okay. A blessing of fire in the center. Oh, okay. I'll look that up. We'll have a little break. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that, Matt. Right. Okie dokie. Yeah. Let me just get some music on, and then I'll put these gravitons. I'll put this track on just because we're doing drones. Yeah. Back in a sec. Exiled Minds podcast. The famous Liam Martin. Back in just a minute. Make a quick drink. It's be a sec. Exiled Minds podcast. Quick break, but we're back. Famous Liam Martin, Exiled Minds podcast on the 21st of February 2023, with episode 20 on C.A.R.E.T drones. Thanks for bearing with us. Okay, we'll get back on with this report then. So yeah, this is strange. I mean, it's a very strange one. If I read this section here, this very first. So we've got this front page, and then we've got this this first section of the report, and just prefaces straight away with an overview. So in the overview it says, this document is intended as a primer on a tentative findings of the Q4 1986 research phase, referred to herein as Q4 86 at Palo Alto C.A.R.E.T Laboratories, which is what the PACL stands for, PACL. The Palo Alto C.A.R.E.T Laboratories. So they must have had a lab dedicated to it. This is to be believed. So in accordance with the C.A.R.E.T program mission statement, the goal of this research was achieving a greater understanding of extraterrestrial technology within the context of commercial applications and civilian use. Examples of such applications in no particular order include transportation, medicine, construction, energy, computing, and communication. The ultimate goal of this research is to provide a core set of advanced technologies in a condition suitable for patent review. So this is just what you would do, an endeavour to try and commercialise some of these technologies. And I would argue that happens. This happens already. I think you could imagine, I'm not saying they do this, but you can imagine a big company like Apple might have the military approach them and say, hey, we've got these things, but we want to just, make it commercially viable and just kind of filter it down a bit at a time, just feed it. And they could perhaps do it by proxy for a big company like Apple, just as an example. And so they're getting, able to, they've maybe got some contract where like the military will give them the tech, but they've got to, pay for it, give them some of the profit, and they can help do that for research and development to do more of it. So then it saves the government having to slide money away to pay for it. You can understand. Then if they were the commercial sector and they keep quiet and play ball, then they can both work together to bring these technologies for us. But the problem with that and doing it all behind closed doors is that do you know what I mean? There's opportunities for exploitation are abound, abuse all over the place. You can become kings. So no. Anyway, sidetrack him. Anyway, yes, moving on. Yeah, so that's like, so it could be legit, man, because that's how you'd have to do it. But anyway, just read the rest of this front preface. So it says the process of converting raw artifacts of extraterrestrial origin to usable, fully documented human technologies is termed extraction. So we want to extract, extract the useful resources, as in the information in the thing, to do the thing, so we've got a thing. All right. The extraction process ultimately consists of two phases. First is the establishment of a complete theoretical and operational understanding of the artifact, of course. And the second is a distillation of the artifact's underlying principles into a usable product-orientated technology. So that's kind of pretty much what I've just described myself. That is the process you would have to follow, the natural manufacturing process of, learning how each component works, and that, that's how it goes. Like, opening up a watch with cogs, and eventually look at all the bits. You should be able to figure out how it kind of, at least in principle, how it's going to function. Like that Antikythera mechanism, famously found by sponge divers off of island in Greece, Antikythera. That it's like got 70 odd differential gears inside. When you do an X-ray, it's way ahead of its time. Now, it's not working anymore. It's broke. It's been under the sea and that, so we can't necessarily see it all and know exactly how, but we know the principles of it. We know about differential gears. We know about clocks, so we know what that would have done on its faces. It would have, it's tracking the time and the positions of the sun, and do you know what I'm saying? It's doing your sextant, your cartography for navigation. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can figure things out, can't you? The point I'm making, because it's alien, you can sort of figure some stuff out. So you do experimentation. So it does sound like legit in the way that they're sort of bringing this forward, and in the format. So I mean, check these files out yourself. Let's say the pictures look pretty cool, and there's lots to be going at. But as always, I mean, look at this. Look, I thought these are pretty cool. So these kind of freak me out. Some images for the video. So these kind of freak me out in a way, looking at this as if it's all completely alien and legit, and I'm looking at these, and these images seem to me to be like electrical schematics. Is this the power management system? This to me has the flavour of electronics, of this is how it's wired, this is how the components relate to each other. Right, but it's not drawn in a regular schematics way. So it kind of freaks me out, because they look a bit like symbols. Do you know what I mean? They look a bit like these symbols. Kind of look like somebody looks like Japanese. That looks like this symbol here. I'm trying to highlight is a Sikh symbol, or is it a symbol from Islam? You know, it's supposed to have something in the middle. It definitely looks like the two Golocks, two scimitars. Some of these symbols look Japanese for damn sure, and some of them are Japanese symbols. Like hit this here, you know, and so they do look a bit Japanese. Okay, but then these symbols sort of on the left here on this section I'm highlighting kind of look like circles with different things in. Yeah, it's like they're kind of sort of saying things without, and you know what I'm saying? And if I'm coming across, what I'm saying is they sort of look like they're a language, but they sort of look like a recognisable language, but they also kind of look like sigils and spells. Like alien spells and sigils. So this is where it weirds me out a little bit, because is it fake? Is it something? Whatever. But this bit really threw a curveball for me, because you can. I did a magic show with Troubled Minds Radio with Mike. We kind of touched on some stuff, and one of the listeners in the group, Jennifer Hawkins, she does stuff on demons, does videos on demons and Earth, and she knows about the demonology stuff. And we talk about portals and things, and talk about this stuff and sigils and word magic, and how in reality is made of lots of layers. So, you know, what happens in dreams and the astral realm, you know, if you do the same thing and then on the physical realm, then it kind of embeds it like holographic layers, you know, holographic universe. And that's the idea why you do the same rituals at Stonehenge every year, the same thing, because you can embed it, the same ritual over and over again, you know, year after year after year for thousands of years, and it'll make that a power spot. That's the idea, to keep buffing it up. So these I thought seemed a bit weird. If you stare at them, they kind of, to me, look as if the magic spells. You know, it's all Doctor Strangey stuff at the bottom of this picture. Like they look like atoms, and then, you know, what we show you, the path of the electrons cloud around the atoms and these spirally bits, and I don't know, it looks strange, really strange. And then there's this, and because they're talking in terms of these things kind of connect to each other without nuts and bolts, just by the technology itself, and how one component can control another in certain modes, but they don't know how this other mode works. It almost talks like they're controlling each other. Yeah, mandalas, Matt, that kind of thing. That's what I'm saying. Look at these. Look at this one here, with a kind of. It's got that is an octagon, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, got an octagon there. You know what I'm saying? Just my first impression when you stare at them, there's all kinds of sacred geometry in there. Right. Almost as if the circuits are magic spells that have been written. So is it self-activating? Because Linda Moulton Howe started looking into this stuff. Researcher of files, Linda Moulton Howe, famously did the book Alien Harvest about the cattle mutilations. Now, she thought that this is all legit, and these are software. This is the software that is also the electronics, but it's written as like a magic spell, like a sigil. So I'll say that again. There's this notion that, like you say, when the wishing machines Joshua P. Warren mentioned before, where part of the circuit is actually been drawn. There's actual circuit, but then actual drawn circuit. But this circuit's not supposed to do anything exactly other than be able to just be running so it can capture a thought, a wish. So that can be wishing for you all the time. So you don't have to keep it on top, you know, law of attraction, you know, law of correspondence, and you don't have to do it. You get your wishing machine to keep positive all the time, you know. So sigil magic and writing stuff, and I don't know, can you make circuits out of it, and can you put the program in there for the circuit then? And do you do that by programming it with your mind? Just literally, maybe you even do it by just making up maybe these are like sutras, where they're just nice patterns where you're going to put the meaning to it, put them in, and that's now a spell that means this. Like John Hutchinson was, when he had these batteries with his flasks and he got the minerals in there, he's giving him a really high voltage charge and then dropping it to a lower range and then putting it high again and then dropping it. And he's programming the minerals to have an upper and lower voltage. So that's how much capacity it then has to act as a battery. He's programming it with repeat action, with the same event happening again in the same way. The same off, off, off. You know what I'm saying? He's programming it with, I call it a molecular cohesion, or we call it muscle memory or epigenetics. Events happening over and over again to reinforce the thing, and if it's consciousness, then we're reinforcing that will keep happening. Maybe repeat is the most basic form of brainwashing. Maybe we're brainwashing bits of metal to love each other and go and work for us. It's just speculation. But I don't know. I thought it was just strange, and I thought I'd throw that particular idea out there because this is a weird one, and they look odd. And I love the idea of that self-activating software, even though it's creepy. But if you look at what it says at the bottom about what this picture is, it says Fig 14. What does it actually say on the document? I'll zoom in there. It says Fig 14.14, compound junction in a dual link union with heavy state, tri-switch and diffuser. So yeah, that is schematics terms. The Palo Alto C.A.R.E.T Laboratory Linguistic Analysis Primer. Okay, linguistic analysis primer. This is the language. The primer, the language. Okay. Where have we heard that in terms of aliens and a language and needing a primer? Can you guess? So there's that. Alien mystery, potentially. UFOs, think about it. Alien language, yeah, and needing a primer. Yeah. And a big buzz about it. Yeah. It's a movie. That's a movie plot. And it is Jodie Foster, Contact, book by Carl Sagan, originally. Yeah. You needed the primer. They needed the special signal. And yeah, there's a little trailer. I won't put the sound on, but yeah. And then they think they got the thing, and then they get the thing, and then they get a code and they build a machine. Okay, so in the movie Contact, they had these kind of schematics. Similar to this, with, there's a lovely image here to show it for the video viewers, where they've got these kind of schematics, and they needed the quote-unquote primer. And they realised, oh yeah, the pages make no sense until you make them three-dimensional. Make them into a box shape. And then you realise there's a key, the quote-unquote primer, that joins them all together. So kind of then, it's following the same pattern as that in Contact, right? Where it's trying to get you to solve this puzzle. So I wonder if it's like a trick. Is that correct? Yeah, all that sacred geometry, but alien symbols are real. Right, yeah, but yeah, Matt South says in the chat, he sees the lot of sacred geometry, but the symbols are alien. Exactly, it looks like that, right? But maybe not. Because, as we see with the Contact film, yeah, in the film, we know that was the real deal as the viewer, but everybody there thought it was an eccentric billionaire that was dying, that was having one last big laugh. A bit like if Bill Hicks faked his death and became Alex Jones or something. You know what I'm saying? Right? So think about it though. So then I thought, okay. So you got this, and it sounds dead good, doesn't it? It sounds right good, and it sounds right good, doesn't it? And you got Colonel Phil Corso, the day after Roswell, talking about his exact same stuff. Right. Oh, yeah, the back-engineered alien stuff from Roswell probably got lasers, Velcro, transistors, diodes. Well, not lasers, there was it before, but... So it ties in with that. So it echo chambers it off the back of that, doesn't it? And even if that wasn't accurate or true, which I'm not saying anything about Colonel Phil Corso, Colonel, that's enough for me. But, yeah, so without saying anything about that, you would want to back-engineer this stuff, right? But if you're going to fake it, you're going to say stuff that lines up with stuff that's already been said that looks like it might be legit to make it seem more legit. And then if somebody else has said something that's similar, then the more people you hear saying the thing, you think, well, it must be true. No, they must be all copying each other as well. Maybe. That's another way to deceive. So it could be a fake, and if you were going to fake it, then... And plus remember, we've got the Lonnie Zamora little thing that looks surprisingly similar as the thingy on the bottom, on the very first page, the little logo on the bottom, right? So thinking along this sorts of lines, I found this article just by chance. It says, I study UFOs and don't believe the alien hype. Here's why. Right? And without going into that article or reading it and stuff, sometimes, I just want to make the point that not everything in the sky is a UFO, is it? Not everything. Or not everything is like necessarily, not every picture is necessarily, you can sort of fake pictures or whatever. So not everything is. And this feels a bit too good to be true, doesn't it? I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying the concepts aren't legitimate. I think they are, but I just think, yeah, like in this article, I'll just read a little bit of it. Yeah, there is a tidal wave of interest building up around the imminent Pentagon report on the subject of UFOs. It's all about the EMP reports coming from the Pentagon, and all this hype about it. And this says, this guy's saying, this guy, Mick West, researcher or whatever, he says, I'm a science fan and a science fiction fan. I grew up around Arthur C. Clarke and Powell Alderson and Eric Frank Russell, Robert L. Forward, Larry Niven. The idea of contact with aliens has always fascinated me, and I'd like nothing more than to find evidence of extraterrestrial life, but this current flap isn't it. In 2017, I helped solve a case of UFOs, used a high-tech infrared camera in the Chilean Navy and recorded the Chilean Navy with high-tech IR, recorded a mysterious object in the distance. The black and white footage showed a bizarre shape flying across the sky. At one point, it seemed to emit fumes of hot gases. A special group was formed for military personnel, scientists and other experts over 2 years to carefully study the case, eliminated all the mundane possibilities and finally concluded it was genuinely unknown, a real UFO, certified by the national military. However, this guy said that it wasn't that he, without reading it all, he said no, he went on to identify it as it was an airplane flight. So it wasn't UFO at all. He found out it was, he said that it was, I can't remember it, isn't it? I can't see. It's talking about it's basically talking about all the hype and how in this particular case it turned out to be a plane. And they identified which flight it was. Again, but so they say, maybe there's a plane happened to be going past where the UFO was sighted by line of sight. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of planes in the sky, so if you go far enough out, there probably is. But so I'm just making a point. Not everything is going to be a weird thing. But these are strange craft. Strange looking things, like I say. This, I like it. I've never seen this one before, but this one's pretty cool. If these things were for real, and then seeing one with a glowing ring, where the rings are glowing, as it depicts on this one or indicates, that'd be damn cool. If there was one of these craft that was for real, and they had two rings, like a double one, and then the rings were glowing. I mean, I'd love to see that. That'd be so wicked. But look at this one. This one's This is the one I saw. This is the one I first saw, and I thought that's too much, man. I'm like, it's like a kid. It's a kid of the craft group, isn't it? Oh my god, mate, the baddest spaceship ever. That's the one I saw first. It was all asymmetrical. But people claim that they phase in and out of reality and that they are in fact for real and the people from another dimension, extraterrestrials. There was a guy on Coast to Coast talking like that. I mean, I've got the old Dragonfly crop circle there. But I don't know. Who knows, man? I just wonder, because there's some that claim that this intriguing saga of the Dragonfly drones and the thing was actually a contest by Alienware, who make their PCs and stuff. They're saying it was a contest, art contest, and that it was a thing, and they put these alien-looking documents out and stuff because you have to figure out the thing, like a competition to do something. I don't know what it was. I'm just trying to get it to load up, but it's not loading. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're saying there's competition for Alienware, and interestingly enough, if I don't know if any of you remember have watched Stargate, the Stargate universe. There's like a genius kid in that, a genius young student called Eli, and they hire him because he's playing a video game. And you have to try and activate this thing in a game, and nobody can do it. It's like an impossible puzzle, but he figures it out. But it's in the Stargate, in the film, in the series, there's the ancients and the language of the ancients. Well, it's actually written in actual alien language, and this gamer figures it out. And he figures out actual military problem, that the game is real, that there really is another planet, and they really are trying to turn this thing on. And they couldn't figure it out. And this genius kid figures it out, so they hire him to go off-world on this, you know what I mean? To go and work on this project. So it's sort of showing you, or maybe you could get hired through something trivial. Like a corporation might hire you for a little thing like this, or the military might set a weird puzzle to try and find out who's smart enough to figure it out. So, and that was kind of the plot for the Stargate thing. And the same with this, like I say, there's some that claim that this... we had a guy called Trevor Blake who showed us the Dragonfly drone that he caught on video, but did a bit more digging. And those original guys, that Chad and Raji, no one could find him after that. And you know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of sort of speculation that, let's say it was a contest. So, and it's California, isn't that? Didn't they do big tech there? Isn't that Silicon Valley way? Do you know what I'm saying? So you said Isaac's information, however, did not hold up to internet scrutiny on the internet forums. Posters shared that the computer company Alienware had announced a contest that required entrants to crack an alien code, and the code was the exact code on the C.A.R.E.T documents. That's what they say. And also as well, if you remember the 80s, it's coming to the end of the show now, but just to wrap this up, I'm not saying if this is real or not, but it looks like it might not, this, but back engineering will happen, and it will happen kind of like this. But bear in mind, the Stargate could potentially be hired by cracking some kind of code like this, right? And if you remember from the 80s, if anyone's ever seen this classic sci-fi film from 1984 of all the years, The Last Starfighter, this dude, I'll put the trailer on, I'll keep it muted. But this guy, I think we're allowed to play it. If not, it's not playing anyway. Maybe I'm not allowed because I've got a share screen. But yeah, so this guy basically plays a video game like an arcade game, old school style, called The Last Starfighter, and he's dead good at it. And then it turns out, again, it's a test to see who's really good as a starfighter. So they go and hire him to go and fly one, for real. Do you know what I'm saying? Based on this video game. They put these video games out everywhere, like on different planets and stuff. But the version of a video game, so it fits in with your aesthetic. Do you know what I'm saying? Trying to get starfighter pilots. But yeah, and the same again, in, let's say we had the movie Contact, where it was like, where they were saying, oh, is it a hoax and that? But it is in pop culture and a thing that, maybe you can put stuff out there to hire people through these puzzles, like the Stargate Universe episode, the very first one is of Stargate Universe. We've got Robert Carlyle in as well.
Come on,
Alex! Starfighter, yeah, Last Starfighter. I'll try and fast forward it a bit. Oh, I don't think it's going to work. But yeah, check it out. It's a great film. It's kind of cheesy, but there's some real. It's interesting the way that they take him to go and do the stuff, and how they make it explainable that he's disappeared to go and fight a war with some aliens. Because you've got to explain his disappearance, haven't you? It's worth watching just for that. And the ending's epic. I think it's a Disney one or I don't know if it's George Lucas, but yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, see what you think. I'm not so sure about this one. I'm 50-50 on this. I think back engineering really does happen, and we've got craft and whatnot. But I'm not sure if this one's real or not. But I do love the concept of the self-activating software, maybe being sigils and spells. So I don't know. So that, I mean, see what you think. Put some comments in, so what you reckon. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, please share the show as well. I always forget. It's my 20th show today, and I forgot. Well, 21 if you include the bonus. But I always forget to ask people to share. So please share this show, Exiled Minds Podcast, with Liam Martin. And yeah, I was going to wrap up now. But just wanted to remember I said before we pack it up. But yeah, please share the show. Like and subscribe, and if you find anything of value and feel like donating, I'll really appreciate that. So yeah, Exile Minds Podcast, episode 20, so on the 21st February 2023. I'll be back tomorrow. Not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. Possibly, I don't know if to the Giants. But no, we'll see. It'll be a surprise one then tomorrow. But I can tell you for certain, on the 23rd, we're going to have a special guest talk about voodoo. So that'd be pretty cool. Hope you can join us for that. But anyway, in the meantime, I'll say goodbye. From me, Liam Martin, the Exile Minds Podcast. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hit the like button, share. Tell your friends. I've got a Linktree now. Get all the links in there. It's wicked. Take it easy, folks. See you tomorrow.